So for our board around the newspaper, I'm not a fan of solid white boards. To me, part of what brings these cakes to life is all the elements being fondant. So we're going to cover this board and we're going to do it in a wood grain type texture, like maybe our newspaper and coffee cup were sitting on a tabletop. So I've got some yellow satin ice, I've got some brown satin ice, and I have some white. Be careful with this brown. It's going to behave, and this is any brand of brown, it doesn't have to be satin ice. It's going to behave differently than your other fondants because to make it brown, they've added cocoa powder. So it's thicker, it's harder to work with. You can see I'm squeezing this really hard. It's going to require quite a bit more conditioning on your part. Remember yesterday how we conditioned the fondant until it no longer tears? See how it's just tearing when I'm folding it over? This is going to require quite a bit more conditioning on your part than the other colors to get it pliable and easy to work with. If you skip this part, it's going to make it difficult to blend with our yellow and our white. So take your time, just spend a minute, really work with it. Go back and forth between your warm hands. Okay, get it to where we're still cracking a little bit here. So get it to where when we're kneading it and we're working with it, it's become really nice and soft. Okay, so for our tabletop, we're going to call it, under our newspaper, we don't want to go one color. Okay, we want to put in a few different colors here with our brown. So predominantly, we're going to want to stick with white. This brown is very, very strong. It will overpower other colors. So we don't want to use that much of it. That'd be too much. Okay, so we've got some white, some brown, and then this is actually the leftovers of our coffee cup color we made. But if you didn't have leftovers, yellow would be just fine. Here we go. We're going to mix these guys all together. Now, if you want a very textured wood look, okay, you can stop here. You can leave this, and what it will turn into is sort of a wood grain. This is still a little unmixed for me, so I'm going to kind of swirl like you'd see in a wood grain pattern. We wouldn't see just all straight lines. I don't want this wood portion of our board to be extremely busy because we're going to have so much going on with our newspaper and our coffee cup. So a little bit of texture, a little bit of movement is good, but we don't want it to be too busy. Okay, so when you think you're happy, okay, again, don't forget your cornstarch. Okay, and if you've got your rolling pin, again, you're rolling out and you're turning and you're rolling out and you're turning. So we're going to use our sheeter. Okay, and remember we're just going to start it on the larger setting. Okay, I'm going to switch over here to my cake, and I'm going to see that there's not a huge amount of thickness that I need right here. I don't have a whole lot of board showing. Okay, so see, that's already pretty good. So instead of focusing on pushing out, let's start focusing on wide. Okay, so I'm going to set my sheeter down. I'm going to pass it through again. Okay, now for this board portion of this cake, or really any cake, you don't need it to be terribly thick, but in this case, I do want a little bit of thickness to it because we're going to go in and do some wood grain. Okay, so I think that looks nice. So we'll stop there. We're going to come in with our water. Now this is going to be really easy. And make sure you get all the portions of your board here wet. Not going to stick to a dry board. Okay, make sure you get everything wet. Remember, we went really deep in here, so really go in there. Okay, I'm going to start here at the front. Okay, and keep in mind when I paste this down, my wood grain that we've created is going to be going in one direction. So we want to keep all of our wood grain going in that direction. We don't want to switch it up. That'll start looking odd to your eye. Okay, we're just working it. You can kind of see, just working it here under the lip. Okay, and we'll take our knife. Okay, if you had scissors, scissors would be fine right now too. Okay, so there's one portion. Let's go ahead and do the back because the wood grain is going to go in the same direction back here. So back here, really just make sure we're tucking it under. We had quite a lip on the cake back here. Okay, use your tool. And then that's going to go ahead and tear for us, but that's okay. All right. So now we talked about our wood grain going this direction. We need to make sure we're keeping this portion going this direction too, so it looks like we're sitting on top of the table. Okay, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to cut myself a nice sharp edge because I think it'll fit under here a little bit better. Okay, and we're just going around, tucking it in, cutting it off right now. Okay, with this portion, I'm going to wet my fondant on each side. Okay, just so I have a little bit more